Good morning. Well, today is a special day. Right now, on the internet, on YouTube, on TikTok, on across social media right now, people are talking about getting a HELOC and using it as a mortgage in first position, meaning let's refinance into a home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit. Instead of, or you can start out with a home equity line of credit as your mortgage. And that is supposed to get you out of debt faster. Now, technically, theoretically, that idea works. Okay. But today on our show, we're going to go over some of those details and why we need to consider a lot more things before entering into putting a HELOC in first position. So if you want to know more about that, the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs, what is good about it and what's bad about it, we're going to go over it today on our show. And get ready. Here it is. We're going to get started right now. Good morning. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And P.I.L.L Method stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Once you understand these principles, you can understand what banking has been doing since 1936, when the first self-amortizing mortgage came into being here in the U.S., and virtually no education has been given to us about how loans actually work. Oh my gosh. So good morning to all of you. And I'd like to know where you're from. Well, listen, you could be watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Doesn't really matter. Go ahead and tell us good morning so we can say good morning to you and tell us where you're from. Today, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a special show because there is information out there that I'm telling you, it even sounds good to me when I hear it, because it is a form of interest cancellation. But first of all, it's touted as something that's brand new. Listen, if you're thinking about using a HELOC in first position, listening to TikTok or listening to what you're hearing on Facebook ads, I mean, there are a ton of Facebook ads right now from different companies that are saying, get a HELOC in first position and you can pay off your mortgage in 5 to 7 years. Yeah, it is not that simple. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying that the math doesn't work. I'm just telling you, they're not telling you what the math is. It is important to know there are many variables to consider when managing your debt. And I'm going to go over some of those variables today. We just won't be able to go over all of the variables. It's just not enough time. But every variable you do not consider costs you a lot of money. And there are a bunch of things that aren't considered in the way that HELOCs are being taught now as putting it in a first position mortgage. Don't do it unless you know exactly what to do and why you're doing it. The other thing to consider is this, ladies and gentlemen, is there's no way to track what you're doing. And in the first 15 minutes today, I'm going to go over all the points in the first 15 minutes Okay, so that you can grasp what's happening, and then we're going to go in for the rest of the show. We're going to go into detail about what's happening. Okay, that way, for those of you that like the shorter version, you'll have it. For those of you that want more detail, you will have it also, and that's going to be our format for our show from now on. In the first 15 minutes, we're going to break down what's happening every point, but we're going to leave out the details. And if you want the details, you can come back later and listen to the rest of the show after the first 15 minutes. What do you say? Okay, so listen, folks, here's the first thing that we need to consider. This idea of a HELOC is not new. Using a HELOC in first position, it ain't new. All right, they're saying it's a new idea. It's saying it sounds great, but it actually started in Australia years ago, and I'm talking about years ago. The P.I.L.L method is 19 years old this year, and this idea of a first position HELOC existed in Australia years before we started. Yes, it's been going on a long time, so it isn't new. But I will tell you this. A lot of people in Australia are calling us up because this idea of a HELOC in first position almost crashed the Australian economy. In fact, there is an Australian version of 60 Minutes. You can do some research on it yourself to find out that having these HELOCs and having the mortgages the way they set up, have them set up, the mortgages, they were really top heavy in mortgage debt. I mean, so top heavy that it wouldn't take much to plunge their economy, not in just a what is it called, a recession, but they were afraid of a depression. So be careful how you use these instruments, because you can't optimize what you can't measure. And these HELOCs are set up so that you can't measure what's going on. So here's a couple of questions you want to be able to ask. All right. If you're thinking about dealing with one of these companies, all right. How much interest am I actually canceling per month? They won't be able to tell you. Okay, that's one. Two, when will I be out of debt? They won't be able to tell you. Three, and I'm talking about the month, day, and year, because the P.I.L.L method will tell you the month, day, and year you will be debt free. And if you follow our program, we'll actually do better than that date. So we're going to tell you up front, the month, day, and year you're going to be debt free. All right. Number three, what happens when life gets in the way? All right. And I have to replace the hot water heater, or I want to buy a new car, or I need to do a roof repair. How is that going to affect my long-term goal of getting out of debt? This system won't be able to tell you if you're using a HELOC in first position, because even though it saves you money, even though it can get you out of debt faster, there's no way for if you can't optimize what you can't measure. And this system does not measure. It doesn't tell you exactly what happens when you get out of when you put money on principal. It doesn't tell you what happens. It doesn't tell you what happens when you have to put on extra debt like a new car. It doesn't tell you. Now, and then the next thing is, how do I track my spending in this system? Do you realize that part of the problem with a HELOC in first position is this? When you have a HELOC, it's like a big credit card. And when you have that big credit card, it's like you're taking your equity and you're saying, I want to use my equity in my home, or I want to use my equity so that I can manipulate the interest. And here's how it works. When you have a regular mortgage, you're paying, each time you make a payment, some money is credited to principal and some to interest. And that's how the whole thing works. But when you have a HELOC, all right, then your interest is calculated based on the average daily balance. So let me give you an example. I'll use a small example first. Okay. So you have a HELOC. Let's say your HELOC is $20,000 and you make $5,000 a month. So here's what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen. So you have your balance of 20,000 and you're paying interest an average day. You're paying interest monthly on the average daily balance of that $20,000. But if you make $5,000 a month, instead of putting that $5,000 in your checking account and paying your bills from there, take that $5,000 and place it on the HELOC as a payment. Now, you're looking at it as a deposit. Okay? And after the first 15 minutes, I'll go into more detail. You're looking at it as a deposit, but your bank or your credit union or your mortgage company looks at it as a payment. So you're putting a $5,000 payment on your HELOC or a $5,000 deposit in your bank in order to pay your bills. So now they said, now, Don, if I'm putting that on my HELOC, how do I pay my bills? Well, because it's a revolving line of credit. You owe $20,000, but when you put your $5,000 in, now how much do you owe? You owe $15,000. So if you put $5,000 in, the bank can no longer charge you daily on $20,000. They can only charge you daily on the $15,000 that's actually showing up. And as you pay your bills, slowly but surely, your daily average starts to creep up until you pay all of your bills. Now, here's how it's supposed to work. Let's just say your bills add up to $4,000 a month, but your income is $5,000 a month. So when you put in your 5,000, but you only spend $4,000 out, at the end of it all, you will owe $19,000. Let's go over how that works. $20,000 to start, put in $5,000 as your payment, right? But you spend $4,000 on your bills. That leaves $1,000 of your income in the revolving line of credit, meaning now your balance is less than the $20,000 before because your $1,000 stays in the line of credit. Does that make sense? Do you believe that will work? You better believe it works because it's just math. I put in 5, but I spend 4. All right. And then if you do it again the next month, you put in 5 and you spend 4. Then now you're down to about 18,000. And the next month you put in 5 and then you spend 4. Do you see the progression here? The thing that almost crashed the Australian economy, though, is because if you owe $20,000 on your HELOC, but you have $50,000 available to you. Okay, you owe 20, but you have $50,000 line of credit available to you. Here's the temptation: to spend more than you're putting in, because we're not tracking how we spend our money. Right now, we're not tracking. Listen, just because you have a HELOC doesn't change your behaviors. We are trained right now from the way banking is done now. Here's what we're trained to do. We don't track how much we're spending each month. I talk to people all the time. And when I ask, how much do you make? That's because we have to get that information. They don't know how much they're making. They have to go look it up. How much are you spending per month, so that you can give us an idea of how much money is left over after all the bills are paid? They don't know that either. They're good, but I say, give us a good guess. And so we start with that. But here's the thing. There used to be a time when you wrote checks to pay your bills. And every time you wrote a check, the idea was to record in the check register how much you spent and deduct that from your balance. So you had a better idea of how much money you were spending. And when you were close to spending all of your money that month, you had an idea. But now what we do is anytime we get close to our exhausting our checking account, then we set up an alert. We will get an email, or we'll get a text, or we'll get both. That you have reached that set balance that you put in place. It's time to put more money into the checking account so that you can avoid overdraft fees. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not tracking how much you're spending, it's easy to continue to spend, because then it feels like paycheck to paycheck. I talked to a lot of people who said, I don't have any money left over. And I'll ask, do you ever have to dip into your savings just to pay your bills? Can you pay all of your bills with your income each month? And they say yes. Are you using credit cards to pay your bills because you don't have enough money? They'll say no. I said, well, then you have money left over. You just don't know when that is because you're not tracking it. I had one lady track her income. I think we gave her a budget sheet. All right. We gave her a budget sheet, and then she filled out the budget sheet and then told us later that she could not believe what she was seeing. After she listed all of her bills, after she listed all of her income and did the subtraction, it was showing that she had $2,000 left over after paying all of her bills. But because of how she was not tracking how much she was spending, it felt like paycheck to paycheck, because even though all of her bills were paid, she kept spending because it was in the checking account. And she knew by working, she was going to get more. But once we started putting that in place, it made a difference to her. So here's what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen. When you're using that HELOC as a first position line of credit, I got some notes here. All right. You can't optimize what you can't measure. Okay. You can't do critical point analysis. Okay. Critical point analysis is this. What is the point at which putting money towards principal will save me the most amount of interest per dollar applied, so that you don't put too much money towards debt reduction and not enough of your money goes to wealth creation. In this system, all of your money goes to debt reduction and interest cancellation. But if you put too much money over here, then the amount of money that you can save per dollar starts to go down. In other words, let's just say you can figure out, once you do the math, you can save $6 in interest for every dollar you put on your principal, all right? Directly to principal, because you have the right to prepay the loan. I'm putting $1 on principal, I'm going to save $6 in interest. But if you put too much on at the wrong time, do you know that that can actually go down to $5 in interest saved for every dollar, or $4.50? But if you don't have a way of measuring, if you don't have a way of tracking, how do you know you're getting the most out of every dollar? And putting a HELOC in first position does not give you that information. So even though you're saving, even though you're paying off the loan faster, you don't know that you could actually do it faster by saving more interest. What you're looking for, ladies and gentlemen, is not the most you can put on your debt, but what is the least amount I can put on my debt to save the most in interest per dollar. So that is leverage. That is true leverage. Now, using a HELOC in first position is a form of leverage, but true leverage is this. What is the least amount of effort I can put into something to get maximum output? Okay. Just like when you put gas in your car. Okay. What is the maximum amount of miles per gallon I can get out of this car? Miles per gallon is a form of leverage. So you can drive your car so you can get 30 miles per gallon. You can drive your car so that you get 23 miles per gallon. You see, it's all up to, it all has to do with measuring. And listen, give this a try. Because a lot of cars have computers in them now, so they can tell you what are you getting out of your, what are you getting, what kind of mileage are you getting? Average. And if you watch it, how you drive your car, that average can go up or down. But the amount of gas in your tank doesn't change. You have if you have a 17-gallon tank, you have a 17-gallon tank. You can't stretch the tank. So how much what kind of mileage am I getting out of my 17 gallons? I want to get the most I can, which means every dollar I have works harder. When you have a HELOC, there's no way to measure that. Okay. So here's what else is going on. Interest, too much money is committed to debt reduction and none is committed to wealth creation. Okay. All of it is going to, so you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. There's no diversification when you have a HELOC in first position. All the money is going one place for one purpose. And that is even if you don't spend more than you put in. But the temptation to spend more is great, especially when you have an expensive roof repair, when the hot water heater goes out, when you have to buy a new car, when life gets in the way, the temptation, because I owe 20,000, but I have 50,000 of line of credit, which means there's $30,000 sitting there that I'm telling myself I'm not going to use that $30,000. We get people all the time who spend that money. It starts out, I intend to put it back next month, but I don't. There are no brakes built into their system. There's nothing that says, if you spend more than you're supposed to, there's nothing that that flashes on your screen or comes up on your app that says, oh, because you're doing that, you're supposed to be out of debt in 10 years, but because you're doing this, now you've gone to 10.1 or 10.5. You see, it starts to creep up on you and you don't realize what's happening until it's too late. And then you call us because we have a cloud-based computing platform that does it all for you. Okay. So now, oh my gosh, I meant to go over this in 15 minutes. All right. But we've already gone for 23 minutes. But see, you already have an idea of what's going on. Okay. So let's stop here. We're going to hear from E.T., the hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas, and then I'm going to come back and then we're going to go in detail on some of these variables. Okay, we'll be right back.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
All right, folks, we're going to put this on the screen for you. You want to go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com, because we're going to get into this a lot deeper to get a savings and earnings report so that you can know exactly how much interest you can save. You will know the month, day, and year you can be debt free, and we'll give that to you for free. Just scroll down under Eric Thomas's picture here. Click on get your savings and earnings report for free. Just get it for free. We're going to get into this thing a little deeper today. And I'm going to we're going to start with understanding what's really happening. All right. So we're going to take this off the screen. Okay. And then I'm going to put something else on. So let's take this off and we're going to put something else on here. All right. And move this screen over to here. All right. And there we go. All right. So I'm going to give you an idea of what's happening when it comes to understanding how this HELOC in first position works, but without the breaks that you need, without the guidance, without prompting you as to what to do and when to do. I'm just going to give you some overall ideas of what's happening. Okay. So let's take a look at this. All right. So I have a $200,000 mortgage here. I have a $200,000 mortgage here. And what we're going to do is go over what happens, okay, when we're going to take, we have $20,000 in our savings account. I got 20,000 bucks in my savings account. Okay. And I'm going to take some money out of my savings account. All right. And I'm going to put it on my mortgage. And this is what happens when I put $10,000 on my mortgage. I save this much money in interest. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to save this $43,000 in interest if I put this $10,000 on my mortgage. Number one, how did I come up with that number? It was a guess. How did I, and I'm taking money out of my savings account and putting it on the mortgage. I'm going to save $43,000, but is that the wisest use of my money? I don't know, because I just picked that out of the air. All right. So let's take a look at this. All right. So I get a $53,000 payout. All right, for a $10,000 benefit. Okay, so that is pretty good. I saved $43,000, but how much money am I saving per dollar? I don't know, because I didn't do the math. I'm just looking at what would be the benefit, and most people don't even know this part because they don't know how an amortization schedule actually works. Unless you know what an amortization schedule can do for you, okay, or how it works, you won't know how to optimize its use. Now, Sunday, you want to come back here because we're going to be teaching you what's really going on behind the scenes and why banking wants to keep how an amortization schedule actually works from you secret. Sunday, we're going to go over 7% interest rates, but we're going to break down what really happens when you pay your bank each and every mortgage payment. It's not at all what you have been led to believe. You want to be here at 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central Time this Sunday, and we're going to go over what really happens when you have a 7% interest, because the interest rates went back over 7% again. We're going to go over the mortgage interest rate. Is that the one we're doing on Sunday? Mortgage interest rate lie? No, we're going to go over 7%. The 7% one. Let's put that on the screen. So we're going to go over 7% and how that works. Okay. and how you can make a 7% interest rate work for you. We're going to go over that this weekend, this Sunday. All right. So you don't want to miss that. All right. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look. Let's take a closer look at what we have here. Okay. So I'm going to, let's see here. Let me take a look at this slide here. And all right. So let's just say, here's our example. After all the bills are paid, we have an average of $2,000 left over. We got an average of $2,000 left over after all the bills are paid. Okay. And we're putting away $2,000 a month in our emergency fund. Okay. I'm putting that money away in my emergency fund. And let's say we have $20,000 in our emergency fund. Okay. Let's look at that. Now, remember that $10,000 I was telling you about? What if we take $10,000 out of our emergency fund and apply it to the mortgage principal? All right. We're going to apply it to a mortgage principal, take it out of the emergency fund and do this. Now we get to see if I apply that in the first month of my mortgage, look at cumulative principal. In 1 month, I've taken $10,000 off the board and it saves me over $40,000 in interest I never have to pay. Now that's important. It's important for me to know why that is. Okay. It's important for me to know why that is. So my next mortgage payment would be on line number 46 of my amortization schedule. All right. So let's see, Rocket City Riker Rider. Okay. Okay. Good morning, Don. This is Bobby checking in from Huntsville. Hey, Bobby, what's going on, man? All right. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So here's what we've got. Okay. Let me see. I've got some other information here. Let me take a look at my notes. All right. And let's see here. Okay. Okay, let's go back. All right. All right. So are you simultaneously on Clubhouse these days? No, we're not simultaneously on Clubhouse these days. All right. And so what we're doing is, okay, somebody's asking if we're on Clubhouse right now. No, we're just broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. All right. And we're soon going to be on Instagram as well, because people need to see these numbers to make sense. And you can't see the numbers on Clubhouse because it's an audio app. So we're moving everything over to visual. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, great. All right. So, okay, great. So let's go ahead and put that. I wanted to show you our new show coming up for Sunday. So let's go ahead and put that up. There it is. Mortgage interest over 7%. That's the one I wanted to see. Okay. Mortgage interest over 7%. I'm going to show you how you can make that work for you. But we're going to give you some underlying secrets that you've never, ever seen or heard of before. All right. And what's really going on behind the scenes to keep you in debt forever. I'm telling you, it's not at all what you have been led to believe. And we're going to be going over all of that on Sunday. Okay, so be here. All right. So now, if I put that $10,000 on my mortgage, all right, if I put that $10,000 on my mortgage in month 1 of my amortization schedule, I'm paid down to here in month 1. I've taken $10,000 off the board. I've saved over $40,000 in interest I don't have to pay. And my next mortgage payment is actually for the next month on line 46 of my amortization schedule. This is what's going on. Okay, if I put this money on. So let's see what happens after that. Okay, total interest saved, $41,988.33. Now, here's the other thing. When you put money on principal, when you have a HELOC in first position, there's nothing to tell you how much interest you're saving. Also, there's nothing to tell you how much interest you're saving per dollar. Okay. Also, there's nothing to tell you how much to put on principal at any given time. Nothing. It's total guesswork. Total guesswork. And all of your money is going to debt reduction. None of your money is going towards wealth creation. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what you're doing. There's a point at which more is just too much. Okay. So now let's take a look at this. After the $10,000 is applied to principal, how long would it take you to return that money? Okay. How long would it take you to put that money back into your savings account? Okay. Actually, it's 5 months. Okay. So I take $10,000 out of my savings account. I'm applying it to the debt. All right. And it's going to take me 5 months to put it back. Now, let's figure the cost. All right. Now let's figure the cost to save $41,988.33. These are the things, what's not going on when you have a HELOC in first position. How much interest is the bank paying you on your savings account? Okay. 1/10 of 1%. All right. Because each time you move money, there's a cost to dealing with your money. Even when you take money out of the bank, there's a cost to you for taking your money out of the bank. And that's the other thing that having a HELOC in first position won't allow you to do. Opportunity cost calculations. If I use my money this way, I can't also use my money another way because I've already spent it. What am I losing or gaining making the decision I just made? That's called an opportunity cost calculation. All right. So now here's what we're talking about. Let's just say my bank is giving me 1% interest. All right. And that's 1% a year. Okay. 1% a year. All right. That's the APR, 1%. So it's So on $10,000, here's how much I'm losing if I take that $10,000 out of my bank. Okay. That's $100. Now we're going to amplify this just a little bit. And let's just say it's not $100 a year, but it's 100. As soon as you take it out, you've lost $100. Okay. Let's take that $100 and divide it by 12. Okay. We're going to take that $100 out and divide it by 12. And that gives us $8.33 for 1 month. So how much did we lose that month? $8.33 by taking $10,000 out of my bank and applying it to the mortgage. I'm losing $8.33. So when you're doing an opportunity cost calculation, you have to put these numbers in. Okay. So the interest cost is $41.65. If I let's see, $41.65. Okay. So if we take that and take a look at what we're doing here, let's look a little deeper. $10,000 gives me $42,000 in savings. All right. Total interest saved, $41,988.83. Total interest cost to save this money, okay, to save this money is less than $41.65. So if I take that money out of the bank, all right, and I do the average cost per day for the time that I have it out, because see, listen, how long is it going to take me to put that money back? It's going to take me 5 months to put that money back. Okay. 5 months times the $8.33 $41.65. And that's how much money I'm going to lose if I take that money out of my bank for 5 whole months. And I put it back, all right? I don't have the opportunity to make the $41.65. But what do I get for that? I get to save $41,988.83. So here's my question to you. Is it worth it to me? Is it worth it to me to lose $41.65 in interest I could have earned by keeping my money in the bank if I take the money out of the bank and put it on my mortgage and save almost $42,000? You better believe it's worth it. Okay. You better believe it's worth it. So what if I did this instead? Okay. What if I take money, because remember, I built my savings up to $20,000. And then I borrowed the money from myself to put on the debt. If I had a HELOC, okay, I don't have to borrow any money from myself. It doesn't take me any time to build it up because my mortgage is in a first position HELOC. I have it already. I'm starting to save already by taking my income that month. It starts in month 1 if I have a HELOC. Okay. If I have a HELOC of 200, if my HELOC is $200,000, all right, my mortgage is $200,000. And here's the first thing that happens. I can't get a HELOC for the entire $200,000. I could only get it for about 80% of my equity. Okay, so let's just say I can get my HELOC for $180,000. Okay, so now I take my income and I place it in my HELOC. I start saving right away. I don't have to save up the money. I can start saving right away. But what I don't know is if I put my $5,000 in and I spend my $4,000 out, I have no idea how much interest I just saved that month. Okay? I have no idea. Now, what happens when I have an emergency? I put in $5,000. My bills are regularly $4,000 a month. But what if I have a $4,000 emergency? Okay? My tendency is not to take it out of my savings account for my emergency. My tendency is I want to preserve my money in my savings account. My tendency is let's use this money over here in the HELOC because I have more money available to me than I'm actually using right now. That's what happens. So I'm going to take that money out of there and my HELOC starts to grow. Instead of paying my mortgage down, my mortgage, because my HELOC is in the first position, starts to increase. Okay. But let's just say I have super discipline. I'm never, ever going to spend more than I'm putting in. Okay. I'm always going to spend less than I'm putting in. And my average is put in 5 and spend 4. Put in 5 and spend 4. And eventually I will pay this thing down. I'm going to show you when you do the math by putting up a HELOC in first position. The average time savings over using the P.I.L.L method and a savings account and a checking account is 3 to 5 months. You can pay off faster using a HELOC 3 to 5 months faster than by using a checking and savings account. Just building up the money, because it's going to take you some time to build it up. Then you borrow the money from yourself, put it on your mortgage, your regular mortgage, and then pay yourself back over 3 to 5 months. Pay yourself back. But with a HELOC, you can start saving right away. You don't have to build up your savings account over 3 to 5 months and borrow from it and put it on your mortgage. So when you take a look at what's really going on, by taking money, you're taking your $5,000 and putting on the HELOC and then spending four, that means that's $1,000 that stays on the HELOC. That's $1,000 that stays on the HELOC when you do that every month. So it starts to pay down the HELOC faster. Okay, that's the whole idea. But let me ask you, that $1,000 that pays down the HELOC, isn't that the same $1,000 that if you put $5,000 in your checking account and you spent $4,000, isn't that the same $1,000 you could put in your savings account? It's the same 1,000. I put in five, but I spend four. I take that $1,000 and I'll put it in my savings account. I build it up and then I can borrow for myself. I don't have to put my mortgage in a first position HELOC to do that and pay somebody to do that. And here's the other thing. I don't get any customer service when I do that. There's no one to tell me how much interest I'm saving. There's no one to tell me if I did it another way, could I save even more money in interest if I did it another way other than there are no controls, zero controls. Okay. There's nothing going on that would help me to understand what's going on. So let me take this off. Let me take this off the screen. Okay. Because when I start thinking about it, it doesn't. Okay. Let's bring this over here. Okay. Okay. Let's take this off. Let's take this off the screen. So when I start thinking about it and what's really going on behind the scenes, it's all of these things sound good because it's in a TikTok video for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or even 30 minutes. But what they're not telling you is, I'm going to bring up my notes on this other screen here. Hold on. Okay. Too much money is committed to debt reduction. None is committed to wealth creation. How much interest are you canceling each month using a HELOC in first position? The answer is, I don't know, and you don't know. Okay. And if you're going to do anything in business, anything in math, you have to start with a baseline. You have to start with what is actually happening at the time. And when you have these questions to ask, how much money am I saving? So when you call these people to check into their system, is there a way to know how much interest I'm saving each month? Is there a way to optimize my interest savings so I can save more interest per dollar? Okay. What happens when I have to spend more of my money and I don't have that much, and I've got to spend more of that money and I'm increasing the amount of debt that I have on the HELOC? How long is it going to take me to put it back to where it was? How do I get back on track? There's nothing that tells you put this much money, pay this much money in this month on this day of the month. There are too many variables. Let me show you what I mean by there are too many variables. Okay. If I have 5 variables, okay, if I have 5 variables, that means there are 120 different things I can do if I have 5 variables, meaning which loan do I pay first? Which one do I pay second? Do I pay it on the 1st of the month? Do I pay it on the 15th of the month? Do I pay extra $10 or do I pay an extra $10,000? There are so many variables, and then for each variable there is an outcome. But let's just say I know that I have 5 variables. Let's put this back on the screen. Okay, 5 variables. Okay. Boom. There we go. 5 variables. Okay. That is 120 different things I can do. 120 different things that I can do. This is called factorial math. How do you figure that? It's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's how you know you have 120 different things you could do. Okay, 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 4, okay, times 3 times 2 times 1. 5 times 4 is 20, okay, times 3 is 60, times 2 is 120, times 1 is 120. That's how you know you have 120 different things you can do. Now, when it comes to math, one of those ways of putting things together is optimum. That's going to save you the most amount of money out of 120 different ways. Okay. This is what they're not telling you that you need to consider. And each time you don't consider all of your variables, you're losing money. Now, each loan, when you're considering getting out of debt, there are at least 10 variables to consider. At least 10 variables to consider every single month. And then you have to figure out what is the best thing out of all of those, how you can arrange those variables. What is the best thing to do to save me the most amount of money? So let's do 10 factorial. Okay. So we're going to put in 10. And when you put an exclamation point, 10 exclamation point means 10 factorial, right? So when you hit that, when you do that 10 factorial, that, oh my goodness, that's 3,628,800 different things you can do. And only one of those is optimum. You see, the deeper you go into this thing, the more complicated it becomes. And what we're told is that it's so simple to get out of debt. It's all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil and maybe a dime store calculator. Oh no. If you want to know the absolute best thing to do, you have to look at all of your options. And who wants to do the calculations of 3,628,000 different calculations every single month just to find out the one thing that's going to save you the most amount of money? You see, ladies and gentlemen, computers aren't smart. They're just fast. What if you had something that could do these calculations for you every single month in just 2 or 3 seconds and say, move this much money on this day in this month, and put it on this debt and put exactly this much to the penny. And we're going to tell you how much interest you will save. And it's going to be the most interest you can save per dollar. And then we just start the process all over again. And what if you had something that could do that for you? That's what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're talking about. So you want to optimizing your leverage is completely eliminated from using a HELOC in the first position. So it is impossible to tell how much interest you're saving. It is impossible to tell how much interest you're even consuming each month. You don't even know right now, if you use that system, you don't know how much interest you're actually spending each month right now. The average family has 13 different debts. The average family has 13 different debts. And if you add up all the interest, just the interest payments on those debts, the average family is paying 35 to 39% of their take-home pay on interest alone. I don't care how much money you're making. I don't care how well you're doing financially. I have people who are making, their families are making over $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year. They're doing quite well. They are, their spending is under control. They're not in trouble financially. They're doing well, but still, when you add up how much interest they're paying per month, it's 35 to 39% on average. 35 to 39% of their take-home pay is spent on interest alone, even though they're doing well financially. What if that same family that's doing well financially, what if they could cut their interest cost on all of their loans by 75% by understanding how it actually works, how much money to move to the penny, what month to move it in, what day of the month to move it on, which loan to attack. All right. Now, here's the other thing. When you're doing this, okay, you're only concentrating on the mortgage. What about your other bills? Having this first position HELOC doesn't tell you that this month you should be putting extra money towards your car loan instead of leaving it in the HELOC so that it will help to pay down the mortgage. Where's my extra money for my car loan? Where's the extra money for my 10% credit card? Listen, there's nothing that says you should put money over here or money over there. What if you have more than one mortgage? Now you have something else to think about. This idea of a HELOC in first position, as a first position mortgage, the fundamentals work. The math works. But there are too many variables that make it a hindrance to help you to get out of debt more efficiently. There's just too much going on that's not being told to you. All right. So let's see. There are no guarantees to the outcomes. Okay. Here's the ask your if you're thinking about going with one of these companies that are talking about get a first position HELOC, ask them, will you guarantee my results? They'll tell you, no, we can't guarantee your results. You see, when you work with the P.I.L.L method, if we give you a savings and earnings report, we will guarantee your results. Let's take this off the screen so I can put up what I can show you what I mean. Let me see here. We're going to put this up instead. Okay. And then I will tell you when to bring it back. All right. Here is, all right. All right. There we go. All right. Let's bring this up. If this is if you are our client and you have two mortgages. Okay, let's make this a little bigger. Let's make it a little bigger. All right. Okay, you got two mortgages, a total of $634,000. You got some loans here, $197,000, and you have some other debt over $200,000. You've got $1 million worth of debt. $1 million worth of debt. Here's what most people don't know. To pay this back the way the bank wants you to pay it back, they want you to pay $692,000 in interest on this. Okay. Then, if you work with us, we're going to tell you you're only going to pay $179,954. That's a savings of $500,000, $512,000 you're going to save. Okay. That's a 74% reduction in interest. You're going to be done in 9 years. Okay. Instead of 36 years. Okay. And this is what I need to tell you. Let's take this off. Okay. This is what I need to tell you about that. We will guarantee those numbers. If you decide that you want to work with us and the P.I.L.L method, we will guarantee that if you follow our program, you will get these results or better, and we'll guarantee it in writing. The people who are trying to tell you that this whole idea of the HELOC in first position is going to save you more money, they can't even tell you how much money you're going to save. We will. That you're going to get out of debt in about 15 years or 7 years or about 5 years. We're going to tell you exactly when you're going to be out of debt. We'll give you the month, day, and year if you follow our program. And when things get in, when life gets in the way, and you have to fix that roof, and you've got to get the hot water heater, and you have to buy the new car, our program will then tell you how to get back on track as soon as possible so that you can get to that original date as close as you can. And if you decide you want to get a new car and you put it in the program, we will tell you how much you're adding on to your payoff date. Let me tell you this much, okay? And this is funny. Let's just say you're going to be out of debt in 7 years. You're going to be out of debt in 7 years with what you've got going on now, and you decide you want to buy another house that you want to rent out with a 30-year mortgage. If you're 7 years to pay off, and you put in a new 30-year mortgage, in our system, on average, we will tell you right away, and you're renting that property out, we will tell you that the average that you add on is 2 to 2.5 years. So you go from 7 years to 9.5 on average. And that's a new 30-year mortgage, and you have a renter in place. You see, knowing what's going to happen before you pull the trigger is so important. And having a HELOC in first position tells you none of that. All right. So let's see here. Let's see if I have any questions. Okay. First, it says, what's the significance of having a HELOC in first position versus a second position HELOC? Okay. So here's what you could do with a second position HELOC. All right. I got a mortgage in first position. Okay. I got a regular mortgage in first position. Let's say it's a 30-year mortgage. And I can actually borrow money from my second position HELOC. Now, here's what a second position HELOC is. It's a second mortgage. Okay. And you are borrowing money against your equity. So you're borrowing money from the HELOC to put on the mortgage. How much money should you borrow from your HELOC to put on the mortgage? That's number one. It's a guessing game. You borrow money from your HELOC to put on your mortgage. It's totally up to you. What if you had a system that says, borrow this much from your HELOC and put it on your mortgage based on your ability to pay the HELOC back? You see, with the P.I.L.L method, you can track that. Okay. Let me put something on the screen for you that shows that. Okay. So here we go. I got to put this on and then I will show you. Okay. See here. A situation where you've got a HELOC in second position. It's going to take me just a second to pull that up, and we're going to pull up our opportunity cost calculator demo. All right, our opportunity cost calculator demo, and then we can kind of go over that for you in just a second here. All right, and let me see here. Okay, I got Taye, she says, what are your thoughts on the HELOC being simple interest debt tool versus an amortized mortgage debt? Listen, when people say it's a simple mortgage versus amortized, it's all amortized. It's all amortized, but it's amortized with different rules. Your mortgage is amortized. Your HELOC is amortized. Okay, but when you have your HELOC gives you the interest in as an average daily balance. You're charged interest on an average daily balance where your mortgage is not. Okay, that's the only difference. But they're both amortized. Get out of that idea of simple interest and amortized interest. They're both amortized. They just have different rules. Okay. But here's the bottom line on this, Ty. It's important to know if I use money from the HELOC, how much is it going to cost me to use the money from the HELOC? And how much am I, how much is it going to, how much am I going to save if I take that money and put it on my mortgage? All right. And how long is it going to take me to pay it back? So let's put this on the screen. All right. And I can cover both of these questions at once. All right. Both of these questions at once. So here is the P.I.L.L method opportunity cost calculator. So what we're going to take a look at is, let me reset this account. And we're going to take a look at these two. All right. I got John and Rebecca Jones Classic, and then we're going to do another one. Okay. We're going to take a look at what's happening here. So we're going to reset it and take a look at what's happening. We're going to say years to pay off. Let's take a look at how much debt we have. Okay. Here's how much we have in our checking account with John and Rebecca Jones. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. Okay. In our checking account, we have $500. In our savings account, we have $5,000. We have an auto loan of $25,000. We have a Visa of $2,000. We have a $200,000 mortgage, and we got a HELOC. All right. And we owe $3,500 on the HELOC, but we have $56,500 available. This is an example of a HELOC in second position. Okay. So how much money should I borrow from the HELOC to put on my mortgage at any given time? If I don't have a system like this, I don't know. I'm guessing. So here's what's going on with when we do this. Okay. When I have my income, when Rebecca gets paid right here, Rebecca gets paid, she puts the money where? She puts it in her HELOC. When John gets paid, where does he put that? He puts the money in his HELOC. All right. And then when it comes time to pay the auto loan, the money comes out of the HELOC. When it comes time to pay the phone bill, the money comes out of the HELOC. So we're looking at that. Now, what if I want to know which way is better? Should I use my HELOC to put my money in, or should I I just treat my HELOC as another bill and I use the checking and savings method? So with the P.I.L.L method, you can go here and go to preferences and take a look at which one is going to be best. Now, I need you to take a look at this up here. We're going to change the 9.5 years. No, let's change it over here. So you can always see how many years it's going to take you to pay off, because we tell you by using the line of credit method, you're going to save $164,960. Okay. $164,960. We tell you that up front. Any other company cannot tell you that before you start. Okay. And if we don't say, if you don't save at least $164,000, we have to give you all your money back. Okay. Even if you save $154,000 and get out of debt in 10 and a half years, we still have to give you money back because you weren't out of debt in 9.5 years. Okay. Okay. 164,000, 9.5. All right. And let's change this to, here's your payoff date. Okay. Your payoff date is July 15th, 2033. If you're not out of debt by then, you're following our program, we still owe you money. Okay. So let's put this back on here. We're going to go to interest remaining. So this is how much interest you're going to save. This is how much interest you will pay by using the HELOC method. All right. Using the line of credit method in second position. So let's change this to say, I want to use the checking and savings method. Okay. Instead, and just by clicking this dot, we will instantly recalculate everything, okay, we're actually going to pay interest remaining is 71,647. 71,647 as opposed to the HELOC is 72,563. Okay. So I actually going to pay more interest using the line of credit method, but I'm going to get out of debt 2 months faster because each 10th is about 2 months. Okay. I'm going to get out of debt 2 months faster if I use the line of credit, but it's going to cost me a little bit more interest to use that system as opposed to putting money on the debt this way. Now, let's take a look. By this way, you can tell the difference between using a HELOC and using the checking and savings method. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's go back to here and let's just see if we can. Now, our program is now telling you how much money to take out of the HELOC and to put it on the mortgage right here. $6,471.96. Exactly to the penny. And when I put that money on the first mortgage, look what happens. I know, it won't tell me that because if I did the other way, it would tell me how much interest I was saving. I forgot, I can't tell you that right now. There's so much going on, but I am saving interest, but it's costing me interest on the HELOC. So by the time we're all done with the month, I will be able to tell how much actual interest I'm saving up here. Okay. So let's just do this. We're going to do this right now. All right. Down to right here. Okay. And then I will reset the program. If I want to know, because I want to do the calculation of how much interest it's going to cost me and how much interest I'm saving, we'll do the subtraction and I'll have a net interest savings. Okay. So let's go ahead and execute multiple and then tell us how much interest are we saving right now by putting that. So I just saved $28,768 in interest right now by doing that. By putting that money, taking money from the HELOC and putting it on the debt, I just saved $28,768. Now what's happening? I don't continue to borrow money from the HELOC. Now what's going to happen? I have to start doing this. So look, the program says, take money. Let's start paying the HELOC back. Okay. Rebecca gets paid. Let's put that money in the HELOC. Put the money in the HELOC. Put the money in the HELOC. Put the money in the HELOC. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and just get rid of the rest of February here. All right. So we're going to select the entire month, execute multiples, get rid of all of February. We're going to pay all the rest of our bills. Okay. Execute everything else. And now we're going to look at March. Okay. And we're putting money in the HELOC. We're putting money in the HELOC. Anytime you take money out, you have to pay it back. And by using a system like this, you're tracking how much you're actually spending on your bills so that you can keep as much money as you possibly can on the HELOC so that you're actually killing interest. All right. So now in April, you're taking money out of savings, putting in the HELOC. All right. You're paying your mortgage. You're putting your income into the HELOC. We're not putting any extra money on the debt out of the HELOC in all of April because you have to put the money back. When you have a HELOC, you can first take money out of the HELOC and put it on the mortgage, and then you pay yourself back. All right. So now no extra money on the HELOC, just the regular payment. Now let's take a look at, we're going to get rid of all of March. Okay. We're going to select the entire month because no extra money went on the debt in March, just minimum payments. Okay. We're going to execute that, take care of all of March, get it out of here. Boom. Okay. March is now gone. Now we're looking at April, May, and June. Okay, April, May, and June. And as you can see here, we're just putting money back into the HELOC for April, May, and June. No extra money to the mortgage at all in April, May, and June, because if you take money out, you have to put it back. You have to put it back. The temptation is, I don't know exactly if I have this on my own. I don't know exactly if I take money out, if I'm using my HELOC in second position, how often do I take money out of the HELOC and put it on my mortgage? You see, I don't know when that is. I don't know how much that is. If I take $10,000 out instead of $6,000 out, I will save more total interest right then and there. But the amount of interest I'm saving per dollar actually goes down. But by taking $10,000 out, it'll take longer to pay back the HELOC so I can do it again. And here is the danger in that. Let me go to the accounts and I'll show you the danger in taking too long to pay the HELOC back. Let's take a look at the mortgage history here and just breaking down here. I need you to take a look at this. Look and see how much pay is going to principal and how much is going to interest. $965.48. So every month, I don't put extra on the mortgage. I'm paying $960 interest payments for every month. I'm not attacking that mortgage. If I take too much money out, then I can't attack this mortgage interest payments. Here's what I need you to know. Each month, the amount of more interest goes down. So the more expensive interest payments are now. These are the most expensive interest payments are right now. Okay, so this is a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, let's bring this up. We're going to pull this up on Brett Whistle and put in the $200,000 mortgage at 6%. Boom. Calculate that. Okay. So now see how, so we were down to like the 960s. Okay. So you're here every single month, you're paying expensive interest payments. So if we have to go 2 months or 3 months before I can attack the debt again, I can start attacking here at 965. But if I take too much money out of the HELOC, I should pay it back first before taking more money out of the HELOC. I'm going to take some money out, apply it to the debt, and then reduce my balance on the HELOC so I don't continue to increase my balance on the HELOC as I pay down the mortgage. What good is that? So here's how it would look. I temporarily increase my balance on the HELOC to put money on the mortgage so I can pay it down. Then I reduce my balance on the HELOC to where it was. I borrow more money from the HELOC now, take it back up, and then I can pay the mortgage down further. Pay the HELOC down to where it was, and then borrow more money, put it on the mortgage. That's how it actually is supposed to work, ladies and gentlemen. But if I don't have anything to tell me that, how in the world can I get it right? There's nothing that tells me to get it right unless I have a system like the P.I.L.L method, opportunity cost calculator, to give me guidance. So if I have to wait 6 months or 7 months or 8 months, look at this. I'm paying all these expensive interest payments and I am not attacking the debt because I took too much money out of the HELOC. What if I take too little money out of the HELOC? Take too little money out. Then if I could take out, I take out 2 of these when I could take out 5 all at one time. Well, that's a lot more money. Knowing how much to pay and when to pay is important. And here's the bottom line. How much money are you making? How much money are you spending? And the program does the calculation and gives you an average time to pay the money back for you. And when you could put money on debt again. Now, let's go back to the program. Okay? Let's go back to the program. Uh-oh. There we go. Nope. There we go. There it is. I've got to open this up again. Oh, the program failed. All right, let's take this off the screen because I have to bring the program back up. Okay. All right. And there we go. Yeah. Our program timed out. So we've got to bring it back up again. All right. And let's take this out. So I'm hoping that this makes sense to you guys. I'm hoping that it makes sense to you guys so that you can know what you actually need to make all of this work. All right, so we're going to bring that back up. Bring back John and Rebecca Jones. And okay, for some reason, I can get it back up. This is live TV for you folks. This is what happens in live TV. Okay. And my computer is frozen. Doggone it. Well, I'll bring it up a little bit later. But keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. When you're working on this, knowing how much to move and when to move it, and how long it's going to take you to pay it back matters. And if you have our system, you can switch back and forth to see when which way is going to be better for you. Listen, if you have any questions, put your questions in the comment section. If you want to come into our studio, click the link and come into the studio. All right. So here's what you need to also understand. And here are my last 2 points. There are no guarantees as to your outcomes if you have a HELOC in first or second position without giving you direction on how much to borrow from the HELOC, whether it's first position or second position. Here's the last thing. There's only at most, if you use a HELOC, even in the first or second position, at most, there could be a 1.5 to 3 months where you're paying off faster using a HELOC, as opposed to paying out your mortgage with a HELOC, as opposed to just using our program and using a checking and savings account. But the last thing is the HELOC in first position only deals with the mortgage. What about the car loan, the student loans, the credit cards, personal loans, the program, that HELOC in first position or second position does not address those other debts. So while you're paying down one, you're paying more interest than you need to on the others. This whole idea of the HELOC in first position being new, it's not new. It's old. In fact, our computer program is based on that idea. It's called interest cancellation. But what we've done with the P.I.L.L method is take AI developed algorithms to tell each person how much money they should be moving, what day to move it on, what debt to attack. And here's the very last thing I want to share with you when it comes to that. Okay, let me pull this back up. Okay. Where is my, let me pull this back up. There it is, Brett Whistle. Let's bring him back up. Okay. When you're paying down a debt, in this case, we were talking about the $200,000 mortgage at 6%. Right now, this debt is pretty expensive. Okay. What if you have more than one debt? As you pay this thing, as you pay one debt down, it starts to get less expensive. Should you be able to figure out if you have car loans, credit cards, student loans, and you're trying to attack these debts systematically, should you, using like the debt snowball method, should you pay the debt down to zero before switching over to a different debt? Or should you pay down one debt until it's cheaper than the rest and then switch off of that debt to a different one? Does it make more sense to pay a debt down to zero? Now, I need you to see this. This is a mortgage now. Do you see that the deeper you get into it, you see how cheap the mortgage interest actually is once you get deeper into the mortgage? So there's a point at which it doesn't even make sense to put extra money on a debt when it gets so cheap to manage. It doesn't make sense at all. At this point, okay, if this is the only debt I had, even just if it was just the only debt I had, I would not even put any extra money on the debt to pay it off on time. I would just make the minimum payments. Why? Because it cost me to prepay $1,063.82 just to save $135 in interest. I want to take that money and put it in my investment instead. There's no way I'm going to take money, because when you're paying off debt, ladies and gentlemen, you're not trying to pay off the debt just to pay it off. You're paying it off to save interest. I want to save the maximum amount of interest that I can that makes sense. And when I've saved that amount of money that makes sense, I want to stop putting money on the debt and make sure that all of my money is going to wealth creation instead. When I start out with a program that helps me to optimize my money, now we're talking about critical point analysis. I'm starting out from day one with my debt. And if I do critical point analysis, I will never put too much money on debt reduction. I will never put too much money into wealth creation. My money will be divided up proportionally so that I can maximize my dollars to save interest. I can also maximize my dollars to make interest out of my income for the family so that we can get the best of both worlds. This is the major problem with having just a HELOC in first or second position, and you are forced to do guesswork to figure out what's going to be best for you and your family. Listen, folks, I hope that this has been educational for you. I'm not trying to disparage anybody's business at all. I just want you to know the truth, and so that you can ask good questions. Okay. But be back here on Sunday. Be back here on Sunday, because right now we're going to be talking about 7% interest. Let's put that up. Okay. So we're going to be talking about 7% interest on Sunday and how to deal with it. But I'm going to go even deeper than this. I'm going to go even deeper than that and tell you why tell you why you shouldn't even worry about 7% interest. I'm also going to tell you the secrets behind the amortization schedule that no one has ever revealed to you before, how it is designed not for you. Your amortization schedule, the way you pay back mortgages, was never for your benefit, ever. It was for someone else's benefit. And I'm going to show you exactly what's going on with that on Sunday at 9:30 Eastern time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Central. Be here live. Go ahead and go to YouTube and register for that free webinar and learn exactly why you are never supposed to be out of debt. The whole system is designed that way. And I'm going to show you what really happens when you have debt. Now, I will tell you this, though. The same strategies that the powers that be, the same strategies that they're using to keep you in debt, you can use the same strategies and reverse the effect. I mean, one for one, you can reverse the effect so that the whole system can now benefit you. This is why it was never taught to you in school. And we're going to have all of that for you on this Sunday. But in the meantime, folks, here's what you need to do today. Here's what you need to do today. Go to ice10k.com, okay? ice10k.com and get your savings and earnings report. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen. Get your savings and earnings report. Go to ice10k.com, click on this, get your savings and earnings report today, and know the month, day, and year you could be debt-free, and start understanding how AI can assist you in saving the most amount of money in interest and making the most amount of interest by investing your money simultaneously. Oh my gosh, the best of both worlds. Okay. The other thing you need to do is get my book. Get my book today. Get it today. Start teaching your children, start teaching your grandchildren, start teaching your nieces and nephews about how all of this is supposed to work, because we did not get it when we were young. So start teaching the kids now so that they can use these systems to their advantage instead of being taken advantage of. Get the book today and start teaching your young ones about how all of this works. And also, I need your help today by going back to the other screen. Here's how I need you to help me. We need to get this information out. So if you will go here and become an affiliate, fill this out. It only takes about 15 seconds. Fill this out, become an affiliate. Tell us how you want to get paid. And we will teach you how you can share our YouTube channel with other people, because we're trying to get more people to watch the free information on YouTube. Watch the YouTube channel. And then when they become a client, we will pay you. We'll tell you how all of that works. But you can make between $300 and $3,000 a month as a P.I.L.L method affiliate. And it's just that easy. No selling involved. Just pointing people to the YouTube channel and following up with them. It is that easy. So those three things: get a savings and earnings report, get the book, become an affiliate, and help get this information out. And we'll see you on Sunday. So that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. And I enjoyed bringing this information to you. And we want to bring more information just like this to you in the future. But from now on, our focus is tell you the truth about how all of this works so that you can build up your own family's legacy using the same systems that were designed to drain you of your finances. Let's turn it around. So happy Sabbath to all of you that apply. Don't call me tomorrow. Don't call us tomorrow because I'll be in church tomorrow, but we'll be back here on Sunday giving you the good information that you deserve. All right, everybody. See you on Sunday. How many want to know how to pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years? You can do all of this without refinancing, without change to your budget, without sacrificing lifestyle.
Me and my husband do the P.I.L.L method, and last year we were able to pay down $33,000 on our mortgage without feeling like we were poor. We still did tons of entertaining things and enjoyed our family.
You don't have to eat beans and rice every day. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to sell pizzas at night to pay off your mortgage. All you need to do is pay the bank less interest. That's what we're talking about today. Here is what P.I.L.L method stands for: prepayment of principal, isolation of principal amounts, leverage, and liquidity. You understand it? You have a way of getting out of debt more efficiently. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. You think you're buying a $500,000 home. The true cost of that home is what? $758,000. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 51.777%. That's what's going on with this loan. The ability to read and defeat an amortization schedule is not taught at any level of financial education. I need you to understand the power of a penny. You will not hear what I'm talking about from Dave Ramsey. Do you know why? Because I own the copyright. I literally wrote the book.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.